Okay, Lauren, hey, it's Godfather Sean calling you out from Seattle. Just giving you a quick overview of our famous Irish bread. This recipe goes back about 3 generations, so it's very critical, very important. So, first thing you gotta do, turn the oven on. Set it to 350 degrees. That's key, it's important, make sure your oven's hot. Next thing, ingredients. I use the gold better for bread type flour. You'll need 2 cups of that. We need baking soda. We need baking powder. We need some sugar. I use the baker's sugar, but whatever sugar you need, use the sugar. Sour cream. I like to actually use, there's a European style. If you can find a European style, that's the best way. I couldn't find it, so I just got the regular sour cream. You need raisins, and you need caraway seeds. Okay, I'll be back in a sec. Okay, Lauren, so I'm back. So other things you need. You will need a pie plate. You want to grease it up with some butter. Make sure it doesn't stick. You'll also need a cooling rack. So when the bread comes out of the oven, you want to put it on the cooling rack because then it'll dry out properly and it'll taste better. So I've measured out my 2 cups of flour and I've sifted it already. So that's already in the bowl. I've mixed in, looks like 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So 2 teaspoons of this stuff. And only a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Kind of ironic, they call it Irish soda bread, but we only put a 1/4 teaspoon. So only a little bit. Now, normally baking is a very precise science. You want to measure things out perfectly and put in the exact amount. Now this recipe it's Irish, so there's some debate on how much sugar to put in. So the recipe says anywhere from a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup. So it depends on how many raisins you like, because the raisins will add sweetness to the bread. So if you put a lot of raisins, it's going to be sweeter, so you probably don't want to put as much sugar. If you put fewer raisins, you probably want to add more sugar to make it sweeter. So that's just personal preference. And then on the sour cream, it says between a 1/2 and 3/4 of a container. So what happens is once we start mixing it up, we will then see how wet the dough is. And if it's too wet, we'll just add a little more flour to even it out. So I'll be back in a sec. Okay, Lauren, we're back. So I sifted the flour, took 2 cups, put it in the bowl, I put 1/3 cup of sugar because I like it somewhere in between, and then my 2 teaspoons of the baking powder, the 1/4 teaspoon of the baking soda. So that's all the dry ingredients. So those are all in here. What I usually do is I usually sift it again, just because that sugar has like it kind of clumps up, and so I don't like any clumps in my bread, because if there's little chunks of sugar, then somebody bites in and they just taste sweet sugar. Now we got to do about again I say about because there's nothing firm on this recipe, but it's about 1 teaspoon of caraway seeds. Okay, so 1 teaspoon of these guys, and then I usually do 1/3 cup of the raisins, and I don't pack it in. I just lightly kind of fill up 1/3 cup, and then what I do is I chop it up. Okay, so I chop it up here. You can see, and you put a little bit of flour in there so it doesn't stick to your knife. But chopping it up makes those raisins a little smaller, so that each bite gets a little bit of raisin instead of a big chunk of raisin. That's again a personal preference. Other people, they just put full raisins in, and you can do that too. But I also like to cut up the caraway seeds, because when you break up the seed, it kind of releases some flavor and it makes it fresh. So we'll put this all in the bowl. So there's our raisins and our caraway seeds. Then we're gonna mix in the sour cream. Be back in a sec. Okay, Lauren, we're back. So I've mixed in my dry ingredients. I got all the caraway seeds and the raisins all mixed in with all the dry stuff. Now I'm adding the sour cream. Key thing here, make sure the sour cream is room temperature. Gotta be room temperature or else it won't come out right. So make sure it's room temperature. Mix it up so it's nice and smooth. And then you're gonna add about a 1/2 to 3/4 of a container. Like I said, normally when you're baking, you want to be very precise. When the recipe says you put a quarter of a teaspoon, you put a quarter of a teaspoon, and that's it. Cooking's different. Cooking, you taste the pasta and you add sugar or salt or whatever, and you kind of ad lib. But when you're baking, it should be precise. This is different. It's Irish. Don't ask me. It's just strange. So I'm gonna fill in 3/4 of this, and then I'm gonna take the fork that I've got, and I'm gonna use the fork to mix it in. Okay, so I'm gonna take the fork to mix in the sour cream. Now, right now, it's starting to get a little bit. This is what it should look like. Here we go, something like that. And you're starting to see kind of chunks form a little bit. And here's what we're gonna do. Now, pretty soon, it's gonna get good. So we got little pieces like this. It's perfect. Okay, this is exactly what we want. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our hands now and get involved. So your hands, you gotta get messy. So it feels kind of gooey and yucky, but you want to get your hands in there and then use the palm of your hand to push everything together, okay? And when you push it together, then you'll fold it over. I'll show you that in a minute, just a sec. Okay, so I've got my hand in there and I'm mixing it up, and here's kind of what it looks like. Like I said, you're gonna start to push it in. You kind of grab it, and don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to squish it and push it. But what you want to do is, again, start to use the palm of your hand to start make it into a solid dough, okay? And again, it should be, it'll be a little bit wet, and you'll see that there's dry ingredients over here, and the whole thing is stuck together, which is good. As you push it, you'll start to push the sour cream out, okay? And that'll get it sticky, and that'll allow you to pick up those dry pieces. So all you gotta do is just keep using the palm of your hand to squish it in, and then fold it over. Okay, so I flattened it out, now I'm folding it over, and then I'm pushing it down. It's flattening out again. Fold over, smash down. Fold over and smash, okay? Okay, so here's what my Irish bread looks like right now. And it's in pretty good shape, but it's a little bit wet. So when I push down, it feels sticky to me. Okay, so I take a little bit, I put my palm or my hand in the flour, and I get it kind of floury. And then you can put it on one side and kind of on the other. And then, like I said, you can smash it down and then fold it over. And again, those folds, what they're doing is they're adding air. So when you add the air, you're gonna make your bread a little lighter, okay? That's what we want. We want it to be light because we want it to rise, okay? So again, fold it over and smash it down. You don't wanna do that too much or else it gets a little crazy too. So I think I've just about done enough. So we'll go here, and that's about what I want right there, okay? Okay, Lauren, so here we go. We've got our bread, we've got our dough, I should say. It's kind of in an odd shape, but what you do is you put it down into the pie plate and then push it down into the pie plate. And we want to push it down, kind of, again, it's going to be an awkward shape. It's never perfectly round or perfectly beautiful. That's just not how Irish bread is made. But again, just kind of making it a decent shape so it's not totally ugly either. And it doesn't always have to go out all the way to the edges. You don't have to push it all the way out to the edge of the pie plate, but you can see I'm kind of doing that now, so that works out okay. It gives it a little better shape. Now, once you've got it in the pie plate, and you're pretty good, so I think we're in pretty good shape here. Boom, there you go. Now what we do, it's very important, according to my mom, you gotta make a cross. We're Catholic, that's what we do. Make a cross right in the middle of the Irish bread. And this actually does have science behind it, because the cross actually allows the heat to get down in the middle there where it normally wouldn't, and that means that the middle of the bread gets cooked properly. So don't forget to put your cross. Okay, so now we'll put this in the oven, and we'll wait 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and basically you want to look at it when it's brown. Okay, when it's brown, that's when you pull it out. Okay, all right. Okay, Lauren, so the 30-minute timer just went off. We're gonna take a look at the bread, see what it looks like. Open up the oven, and what do you see? Pretty brown, pretty good looking, pretty close. Let's say another 2 minutes maybe, that's it, okay? Close it up. Okay, Lauren, so I actually left it in for a little bit longer, more like 10 more minutes after the 30-minute buzzer. So you can see here, looks pretty golden brown. That's what we want. Don't pull it out too early, because if you don't, you can be kind of fooled by the coloring. Like the outside might be golden brown, but inside it's not quite cooked properly. So now I'm just gonna take this out and put it on the cooling rack. Boom, there's that. So we'll leave it on the cooling rack for maybe 30 minutes or an hour, and then we'll cut it up, put some butter on it, and serve it. Hey, good luck. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Give your daddy a big kiss for me. All right, we'll see ya. Bye-bye.